Emma, I have to say, I'm seriously stuck. I understand English when I read or listen, but when I need to speak, my mind just blanks out. It's like I know the words, but suddenly they're gone. It makes me feel so embarrassed, especially at work meetings.
Jack, I totally get it. I've had those moments where I freeze up mid sentence and can't remember the most basic word. It's so frustrating, but honestly, you're not alone. It happens to so many people. We can absolutely figure this out together today.
That would be a relief. Sometimes I even start a sentence and then just get stuck looking for the right word. People stare. I get nervous, and it gets even worse.
I've been there too, and it always feels like the more you worry, the harder it gets. But don't worry, let's dig into why this happens, and I think you'll be surprised by the real reason behind it.
Now that you mention it, I never struggle to understand English TV shows or even jokes in movies. But asking for help at a store, suddenly I forget everything. Why does speaking feel like a different mountain to climb?
It's wild, isn't it? I remember once I tried to order a coffee, and the words just vanished. Hearing English feels easy, but speaking puts you on the spot. Your brain panics, your tongue freezes. It's a totally different kind of pressure.
Yeah, exactly. It's like my brain is running two different apps, one for understanding, one for speaking, and the speaking one keeps crashing.
I love that comparison, a crashed app. What's funny is, most people think if they just study more vocab, they'll speak better. But honestly, there's more going on under the surface.
That actually reminds me, yesterday I knew the exact word in my head, but it refused to come out of my mouth. So frustrating. Can we talk more about what's really getting in the way?
Absolutely, let's get into it. A big part of that block is confidence, not just vocabulary. When you're nervous, your brain just locks up even if you know the word perfectly well.
Wow, that makes sense. I always thought I just needed to memorize more, but it's probably nerves. Do you think practicing out loud, even alone, could help?
For sure. I talk to myself all the time, walking the dog, waiting in line, you name it. It actually helps loosen up your tongue and reminds your brain it's okay to make mistakes.
I might start doing that, and maybe I'll call you next time I get stuck. It's such a relief to hear I'm not the only one who goes blank sometimes.
Please do. And honestly, every time you get stuck and try again, you're actually getting braver. Next time, we should swap our funniest language slip-ups. I bet there are some good stories.
Have you ever been in the middle of a sentence, just cruising along, and your brain suddenly hits the brakes? One second you're making a brilliant point in a meeting, and the next you're searching for, what was it? The simplest word, like printer or something.
Oh, all the time. I'll be chatting with a friend and suddenly my mind is just a blank canvas. It's like the very word I need evaporated. I usually end up waving my hands around, hoping it'll somehow pop back in if I gesture hard enough.
I do that too. There's this awkward moment when everyone's just staring at you, waiting for the magic word to reappear. The silence feels like it stretches for ages, even though it's only a couple seconds.
Honestly, it's almost like a mini panic attack. My face gets hot and I start laughing nervously like, the thing with the buttons. And of course, the word finally comes to me later when it doesn't help at all.
That actually reminds me of this one time during a big work meeting. My boss asked for a quick update and I completely blanked on the project's name. I sat there, staring at my notes, knowing everyone was waiting for me to speak.
That's so relatable. I've had moments like that where I start to answer, super confident, and then boom, the main point just vanishes from my brain. I end up stalling, repeating myself, or awkwardly laughing. You feel like you're starring in your own embarrassing sitcom episode.
Exactly. I always think I'll come across as prepared, but instead I'm just searching for that one word, like deadline or client. It's never the complicated stuff, always something simple.
And the worst part is, after the meeting, I'll remember everything perfectly while walking back to my desk. It's almost like my memory wants to play a prank on me.
Funny you mention memory tricks, phone calls are my kryptonite. I'll rehearse what I want to say, but as soon as the person picks up, all my rehearsed words just disappear. Suddenly, I can't even remember why I called.
That is so true. I'll dial a number, mentally prepared with a little script in my head, but hearing the other person's voice totally derails me, and I end up asking, how are you? Instead of my actual question. My mind just goes blank as soon as it's my turn to talk.
It's wild how silence on the other end only makes it worse. The more I pause, the more my brain panics and empties out. I always hope they'll fill the gap first so I can regroup.
And then, like clockwork, I'll hang up and immediately remember every single thing I meant to ask. I've actually called people back just to finish a thought because my brain finally caught up after I hung up.
You know, everyday conversations aren't safe either. Just last week, I was chatting with a neighbor and suddenly couldn't remember the word for umbrella. I ended up miming as if I was shielding myself from rain, hoping they'd get it.
That happens to me with the most basic words. I'll be telling a story and halfway through, I'm stuck searching for something like microwave. I'll say, you know, that thing you reheat leftovers in, it feels so silly in the moment, but it always happens when I least expect it.
It's almost like our brains are playing hide and seek with us. Sometimes the more I try to focus, the further away the word seems. But the second I stop thinking about it, suddenly, there it is. After all that, I've noticed the best way to handle these word disappearances is just to laugh at myself. It makes the awkwardness lighter, and usually, everyone else has a similar story to share.
Absolutely. Sharing a laugh takes the pressure off. I've found that people actually relate more when you admit to those little blanks. It's almost comforting, like we're all in on the same secret club of forgetfulness.
Totally agree. Plus, it gives everyone a moment to jump in and help, which always creates a sense of connection. Maybe these wordless gaps aren't so bad after all.
If anything, they make for great stories later. And honestly, there's something reassuring in knowing it doesn't just happen to me.
Have you ever had that moment where you're right in the middle of a conversation in another language and bam, you can't remember the word you need? It's like your brain just throws up a blank sign.
Oh, all the time. It's especially bad when I'm tired or nervous. Sometimes I realize I'm actually trying to translate everything from English in my head, and that just makes it worse. My brain's scrambling for a word that doesn't even fit properly.
I get that. The second I start thinking, okay, what's the English word and how do I say it in Spanish? I freeze up. It's like the conversation's moving at one speed, and my brain's stuck in slow motion.
What's wild is, if I just let myself respond naturally without translating, half the time I remember the word. But that mental habit is so hard to break, especially when you're worried about sounding smart.
That actually reminds me. Do you ever notice how the fear of making a mistake just makes everything worse? Like, you hesitate, and then suddenly the word is just gone.
Totally. There's this pressure to get it exactly right, and as soon as I start doubting myself, I forget what I wanted to say. It's almost like my brain's trying to protect me from embarrassment, but it just ends up causing more of it.
Right. And even if you know the word, suddenly you're second-guessing the pronunciation or grammar, and poof, it's out of reach. I've even caught myself pretending to check my phone just to buy time.
Exactly, and once you get flustered, it's a domino effect. The more anxious you get, the more words slip away. It's like a real-life game of hide and seek with your vocabulary.
Funny you say that, because sometimes I realize I actually studied the word ages ago. I just never really used it out loud. It's like it's sitting somewhere in my brain collecting dust.
Yes, I've got whole lists in my notebook of words I memorized, but if I don't practice them in conversation, they just vanish when I need them. It's like learning to ride a bike by reading the manual instead of getting on the bike.
Totally. I remember when I first learned umbrella in French. I could recite it for a test. But the first rainy day in Paris, I just stood there, blanking out, pointing at the sky like a mime.
I've done the exact same thing. It's a strong reminder that using words in real situations, the messy, unpredictable kind, is how they actually stick. Otherwise, they just float away when you least expect it.
So, I'll admit it back. When I first started learning Spanish, I thought the best thing to do was just memorize these giant word lists. I'd spend hours with flashcards, but honestly, half those words never stuck.
I totally get that. I still remember cramming lists of French vocabulary before a test, only to freeze up and forget half of them when I actually had to talk to someone. It's funny how we all seem to go down that rabbit hole at first.
Yeah, and looking back, I can't believe I thought knowing every fruit and vegetable name was going to make me fluent. Like, when was I ever going to need to talk about rutabagas in a real conversation?
Ha! Rutabagas are always the first to go, right? I think I was so focused on quantity that I barely considered which words I'd actually use. Makes me wish someone had just told me, you don't need all the words, just the right ones.
That actually reminds me of another classic mistake I used to wait until I thought I could say things perfectly before opening my mouth. I was terrified of making mistakes.
Oh, I've been there. With Italian, I'd rehearse sentences over and over in my head, and by the time I finally said something, the moment had usually passed. I missed so many chances to just try and learn from messing up.
Exactly. All those conversations I could have had if I'd just been willing to stumble a bit. Now I realize people care more that you're trying, not that you get every verb tense right.
And honestly, some of the best connections I made were when I messed up and we both just laughed about it. It turns out, mistakes are way more memorable than perfect sentences.
You know, speaking of things we overthought, I used to always think grammar had to come first. Like, I'd pore over conjugation charts and stress about rules before I'd even try to say anything simple.
What surprised me most is how little that helped in real conversations. I'd be mid-sentence and suddenly panic, wondering if I was using the past perfect correctly. Meanwhile, the actual point I wanted to make just vanished.
Seriously, I had all these rules in my head. But when it came down to saying, "Where's the bathroom?" I'd freeze. It turns out people understand you even if your grammar's a little wonky.
Totally. These days, I focus way more on getting my message across than on impressing anyone with perfect syntax. The funny thing is, the less I worry about grammar, the better I actually communicate.
I used to freeze up every time I forgot a word while speaking English. It felt like this huge failure, like everyone was just waiting for me to trip. Did you ever go through something like that?
All the time! The first few months, honestly, every conversation felt like a performance. If I blanked on a word, I'd panic until I realized that just moving on or laughing about it made things so much easier. People don't actually care as much as we think they do.
Totally. And half the time, the other person is happy to help fill in the missing word, or even admit they forget words in their own language. It took so much pressure off when I stopped treating every little mistake like a disaster.
You know, shifting from I must get everything right to it's okay if I mess up changed my whole vibe. I started enjoying conversations more, and weirdly, my English actually improved faster.
That actually reminds me. One habit that really helped was thinking in tiny English thoughts throughout my day. Like, if I saw my keys, I'd just tell myself, these are my keys in English, even if it was just in my head.
Oh, I love that. I started doing something similar. Instead of translating full sentences, I'd just label things around me or think super simple phrases, like I'm hungry or it's raining. It made English feel less like something I had to perform and more like a natural part of my routine.
Exactly. It's kind of funny how those tiny thoughts stack up. Over time, I noticed I stopped pausing to translate and just started reacting in English, even to myself.
And it takes off so much pressure, right? It means practicing doesn't have to be this big study session. You can do it while brushing your teeth or waiting for the bus.
Funny you say that what really made a difference for me was talking about my actual life instead of random textbook topics. Like, I'd chat with a friend about my weekend plans, or just describe my breakfast out loud.
That's so true. When I started focusing on real stuff like explaining why my plant was dying or what I was cooking, I felt way more motivated. Plus, it made the words stick because they mattered to me.
And when you need to talk about your own life, you naturally use words and phrases you'll use again. It's like building your own personal dictionary.
Exactly. Also, when I talked about my daily routine, I noticed I'd remember words like laundry, commute, or even just tired much more easily. It's practical, and it keeps things interesting. Makes you feel like you're actually living in the language.
You know, I always thought I knew a language until I actually tried speaking it. Suddenly, my mind just goes blank. Have you ever had that happen?
All the time. It's like, in my head, I've got all these words ready, but the minute I open my mouth, they just vanish. I guess that's the difference between studying and actually using the language in real time.
Exactly, and I think that's why people get nervous about practicing. It feels like you're being tested, but it really shouldn't be about perfect grammar or impressing anyone.
For sure. And what's funny is, the more casual you make it, the easier it gets. Like, when I practiced with friends, I'd mess up and we'd just laugh about it. It took all the pressure off.
That actually reminds me, do you want to try a couple of simple sentences together, just for fun? No pressure at all. We can keep it super easy.
Oh, that sounds great. I always feel way less nervous when it's just for practice with someone I trust. Maybe something like, "How was your day?" Or, "I like coffee."
Perfect, let's try it. I'll start, I like coffee. Your turn, anything at all.
All right, here goes. My day was good. See? That wasn't too scary. And honestly, these mini moments build confidence way faster than just reading alone.
Totally agree. And you can even toss in silly sentences like, the cat is wearing a hat. Sometimes the sillier, the more relaxed it feels.
That's so true. Last week we got stuck on, "The dog wants pizza," and just ended up laughing. Those goofy sentences make it light, and suddenly you realize you're actually speaking without overthinking it.
It's kind of amazing how just a few minutes of light practice like that can shift your whole mindset. Makes me wonder, how can we sneak in more of those moments during a regular day?
Honestly, I've started talking to myself at the grocery store, just saying what I'm buying or describing what I see. It sounds silly, but it gets those words flowing out loud, not just in your head.
I love that. Even narrating little things like, I'm making tea now, feels like real practice, and there's zero judgment.
Exactly. And if you can loop a friend in for a couple of sentences now and then, it keeps it friendly and low-key. It's not about drilling, it's about making language part of real life, bit by bit.
You know, before we wrap up, there's something I really want to say. Forgetting words is totally normal, especially when you're learning or using a new language. I mean, nobody remembers every single word all the time.
Oh, absolutely. Honestly, sometimes even in my own language, I'll blank out on a word and it just slips my mind for a minute. It's such a human thing, and it's definitely not a sign that you're failing at learning.
And I think people put so much pressure on themselves to be perfect speakers. Like if they forget one word, it means they're not making progress. But really, everyone stumbles, even the pros.
That's so true. Some of my favorite conversations have those little pauses where someone laughs and says, "Wait, what's that word again?" It actually makes things feel more real and less like a test.
That actually reminds me, fluency isn't about getting every sentence right. It's about showing up regularly and letting your skills grow bit by bit. You don't have to be perfect to be understood.
I love that point. It's a bit like working out, isn't it? If you show up every day, even for a short time, you get stronger. Missing a day or tripping up isn't going to erase your progress.
Exactly, and those little moments of confusion or hesitation, they're actually signs that you're stretching, learning, taking risks. That's way more important than never making a mistake.
Plus, your confidence grows each time you push through those moments. Even small steps add up, and before you know it, you're having real conversations without stressing over every detail.
As we come to the end of this episode, I just want to say wherever you are in your language journey, you're doing better than you think. It's not about being perfect, but about showing up and trying each day.
Honestly, we're cheering you on. If you stumble, laugh it off and keep going. You're part of the Hello English family now, and we believe in you.
Thank you for spending this time with us. Keep that spirit up, keep practicing, and remember, you're never alone on this path.
Warmest wishes from both of us here at Hello English. Take care of yourself, and we can't wait to talk with you again soon. Goodbye for now.